the horizon. I'm looking around 360. I'll certainly grab a rifle and help you out, but I'm trying to make sure we're not having any ships coming up to us. Okay. Do we have a heading? This island looks familiar. Sure. Yes. Are you both occupied with that? No, there's a shipwreck next to us. I brought us to the shipwreck and brought us to a stop. I was gonna say, off our starboard side. About 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock, rather. You see it? Okay. Yeah, he's already down in it. Starboard side. Yes. Okay, anchor is up already. Can you guys give me... Let me see. Oh, hold on. We're going into a headwind, but we're going to be making a 90-degree turn. I'm standing next to the compass on the railing. We're heading south. Give me full sails for front and back. Leave the sails, the tacking as is. We're going to be sailing into a headwind anyway. That's the southern path as it is. Right, and full to port. Okay, got it. Yes, yes. As long as the front sail isn't open and straightforward, I can see at least half my field of vision, but yes, I can see the rock. Now I can't, but I know where it's at. You said 4 squares. It's not that island dead ahead, is it? You said it's Crescent Isle. Right. Yeah. What about at our 12? So I got a small island and a big island beyond it. We have cargo to our port side. Just barrels. Well, we're going to the small island. Okay. Yeah, if you feel like it and your hands are empty, just play some music. It's not necessary, but it spices it up a little bit. You kind of go to sleep after you hear the ocean for so long. I throw on a YouTube video at night if it's either a shower or rain on a car roof, something like that. When it's a 10-hour, I throw it on my Bluetooth soundbar. Oh, sounds so nice. After playing with Danny last night till like 3 o'clock in the damn morning, I slept till like 2 o'clock this afternoon. Yeah, certain riddles or certain things you find will require you to do things by a certain time or a certain date, or to be somewhere at a certain time. It looks rocky too. I could probably use a coffee. Got a little bit of a headache, but I'm trying to get as close as I can. Yeah, go ahead. Are they in the water? Okay, I wasn't sure if those were rocks. Can anyone tell me how far the sandbar is? Okay. Let's see that. Go ahead and put the anchor down. Go ahead and drop the anchor. That's fine. I called it early. We could have circled this island for a while. Kind of why I repeated myself when I saw you didn't move. That is certainly one of the things in this game that can get you killed. So. Safe for now. Do we know if the Eye of Reach scope glares like the telescope does? I'm not leaving you, Danny. Leave all the sails closed. Hmm? Can you, Nah, you're fine. I was gonna say check the bottom and make sure that we're not taking on water. We are taking on water. Somewhere. I think so. I heard, significant creaking. I wanted to make sure we weren't scraping. We're not. I didn't get any closer to the island. Okay. Mm-hmm. In reality, would a ship turn in place without any forward motion? Not this ship would. Are you talking about just oscillating with, since the rudder is so much larger than the ship is compared to the rest of the ship, like a fishing boat or something like that, a single hull might, a flat hull. Can I have full sails in the back? Mm-hmm. The keel is also stopping us from doing a barrel roll, though. You hear that, right? Because I heard that before, but it was odd because we were making that counterclockwise turn, and it started making that noise. You must have been absurdly close to critical pressure against that sandbar, and we just got lucky when we stopped. So I pulled the anchor up when you guys were coming back, and immediately got that noise like it was sliding off of an obstruction, but I was giving it no sail. I go around this big boulder and then continue on north. We're close enough, I'm gonna go around the far side of it. The large island. Okay. With the engine pulled up, with it like sitting next to a dock. Mm-hmm. I'm saying like this ship without moving forward at all, like when I pulled the anchor up after the ship had been at a full stop and then just turned the wheel to full lock, it turned. Oh, it does. I thought the keel was fixed to the ship, like it was immobile. Yeah, I see it. Hmm. I was thinking the keel was like on a sailboat, the offset for the vertical mass of the masts. I thought the keel was fixed and was always parallel to the mast. Okay. And close that sail. Okay, close the front sail. You just do a turn like we were just describing. No, we're about to pull the anchor. Go ahead and pull it. Drop the anchor. Yes. Okay, that's neutral steering. I'll reset the sails. Grab the bottle off the beach, please. It is to the ship's 10 o'clock. Okay. How much is gunpowder worth? Okay. Oh yeah. It's got sapphires all over it. Hmm? I didn't realize we had so much treasure. I just went down to the hold. Tree. A palmetto tree. Ooh, the drunk chest again. Like other things having to do with the movies, if common sense may contradict what you would guess it is, then the movies does it the dumb but incorrect way, so they don't have to explain it. Sometimes it's heel to toe. Because there was a time in human history, probably a good bit of human history, when things were measured in hands and feet, and a foot wasn't 12 inches. Really, a foot was like 7 inches, because people were smaller in past ages. What the fuck was that? Oh. Yeah. We're gonna go to this shipwreck and then we're gonna turn in because we are getting into a dangerous capacity with the amount of loot we have if we were to lose the ship. Yes. Keep the sails tacked the way they are, give me full rear. We are gonna get this shipwreck first. Stay on those sails, don't move. One of you go to the rear sail. Okay. Danny, you're gonna be covering the anchor after you close that sail. We're not going very far. Okay. Never kept a ship out this long. Okay. Go ahead and close the front sail. Half rear sail. Okay, close the rear sail. Drop the anchor. Okay, should be right off our port side, slightly forward. My dogs are barking, I'm gonna go check on that. One of you stay on the boat. Keep lookout. Was there anything good? What did I miss? Okay. Okay, I see it. I made a cup of tea as well. Yes. Why am I hearing that noise now? Well, you know the rattling noise of the pulleys when you're tacking the sails? Sometimes we're sitting still and I hear that. I guess it's just a product of the wind. Can you, let's see. Okay, you got that. Close the middle sail. Right. I mean, it's expected that it's that way, but I try to work around the whole blind spot from the mast, so I'll stand over near one of the railings. Keep going back to the helm. Oh, no, no, no. It wasn't. Can you, right. Well, I try to come in tangential to the island anyway. Yeah. No, no, it randomly generates, usually near shipwrecks, or where it has nothing to do with player killing. Yeah. I'm also trying to avoid this, you can't sail into these harbors. Well, the sandbar comes out a lot farther than I thought. That was entirely my fault, gentlemen. I misjudged that sandbar. We're all happy to be back to port with this stuff. Yes. If you throw it in the ship, gravity will pull it back down. You're just splattering it on the wall if you throw it anywhere else. A good idea, I try to do it when I'm on lookout. Some other lookouts do it as well. Really, I should have mentioned it. Under the stairs. I did. Yeah. I just anchored the ship after I damn near sunk it. Mhm. Certainly. Oh, it did. It just... We're gonna be making a 180-degree left turn. Gold hoarder. Yeah, we should be good. Making that left turn. Hmm? It was just the cleat was next to me when I raised the anchor. Oh, you're still in the ship. Yeah, because it thinks we're leaving you. So am I going to that point, Danny, or am I going into the harbor? Okay. Okay, you're adjusting. Okay. Yes, what you said about aiming off center, I for the most part do that, but I sometimes don't stop the wheel exactly at center, so I'll have the crown spoke next to the mast in my visual field. And I'll leave it like that for a gradual turn if an object is far off that I want to pass closely. Okay. Yeah, I was just lining up one at the side of the ship with this shack. I should give you good accessibility to the merchants now. You know, I was thinking about rejetting the carb on my motorcycle. But then I also thought like just about any motorcycle you buy new these days, it's throttle body injected. Unless you get something like a Busa, which it might be port injected. So I'm kind of like, no, okay. But I mean, because my motorcycle now is a KN carb. It's a single barrel, constant velocity, I believe. Um, and overseas and some years, I think in the U.S. as well, before emissions got terrible and started dealing with motorcycles as well. You could get a twin single barrel carb, where instead of it being a 54 millimeter on the snout, I don't know what the Venturi is. Instead of being a 54, it's like twin 33s, or no, not twin 33s. It's like twin 28s. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, especially around here, you get like somewhere between 5 and 8 months out of the year. I mean, 'cause like I parked my motorcycle at the beginning of December. That's when the weather became unsuitable to ride, and I'm already probably within a month I'm gonna be back on it because weather will be warm. It'll be above freezing and dry. But yes. It looks like it. You guys had them all on the middle deck in the same place. Yeah, that was the last one. Oh, that's an island with one palm tree. What about a new ship? that is probably best. And let's log out in the meantime. Yeah. Damaged it quite a bit actually, given we've got about 5 holes in it that are patched. Maybe. But let's go with shore. Let's go to the I mean, let's look at the merchants and then at your leisure log out and we'll start a new session so it'll grant us a new ship. Because I don't want to linger indefinitely just sitting at port. We have there's no way for us to be robbed.
Remember, I'm watching. Keep your pilfering hands where I can see them. Hey, let me check your pockets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had people attack my sloop, or rather the galleon. When they attacked the galleon, and then I saw their galleon there, and they came over. And when they came up to me with a gun, I did the sleepy emote, and they didn't shoot me. And I went to game chat and talked to them a little bit. They were nice people, very polite. They said, we're sorry, we thought you were going to be hostile, so we shot you preemptively, but we patched your ship for you, which I found out they can do. And then they gave me an opportunity to move my ship like 30 feet away, and then all the pleasantries were traded, and then they went on their own way. Because they had pulled up broadside and shot holes in the ship, I moved out of the way so they could park their ship at the dock. I just moved my ship to the next dock down. What were we saying, Danny? Yeah, start getting into the ones where it's the gold-plated skeletons that are durable and this and that. Those raids are meant for 4 people. Mm-hmm. Right. Hey, Danny. You want $2,750 for a bucket? Scared the Cajun right out of him. Okay. Nah, you can leave it. I mean, should we, Danny?
Cheerio!
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Face down.
Oh, stay a while, brave wanderer.
Empty fall face down in this yellow snow. And black place everywhere you go.
Fare thee well, noble rover of the seas.
Okay. Hey, I have a question. What? I was drinking my tea while you were being belligerent. Did pirates actually have the whole, I mean, amputated hands, obviously, but the hooks to replace them? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah. Hmm. There's a Paralympian lost a leg like that. Fell off a boat and the one of the drag lines looped around his ankle and just severely mutilated his leg. But I was just curious about the whole existence of the hooks or if that was just romanticized. Right, because he can't grip a rope. Mm-hmm. Right. Same thing with having an amputated leg. There were what? Oh yeah, of course. I can certainly understand that. I'm in the in a solo voyage, still in port in the
My heart sings in your
uh
praise.
clothing merchant, and I'm looking at like one of them was a where is it? Yeah, the bilge rat hook, fashioned from an oar lock of an old rowing boat found abandoned in the wild. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, back then, certainly you could have a mangled hand, and maybe you would have the wherewithal to, and you know, the stones to cut your own hand off after it had been mangled, or perhaps it just became gangrenous and you did it to save your life. But I just feel like back then, the only way that you would get your hand cut off, I mean, not mutilated, but actually cut your hand off, would be a lot of liquor, someone helping you, and then immediately cauterizing it with a hot iron. And to me, that seems like something that many people would die before they had that procedure done. And then you'd be, right. I do agree. Like I said, I don't doubt that they were mutilated. I was just thinking that entire uh, amputations, or and perhaps more seriously having your leg amputated and surviving, probably had a low success rate. Give, hmm. I'm just thinking about surviving the procedure itself. Right, right. I'm thinking like a peg leg, for example. Prosthetic technology still is marginal at best, but Mm-hmm. 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 Right, right. No, no, because that puts a burden on everyone else. Oh, back then, keep in mind that back then, and Danny can refine this answer if it's incorrect. Pirate crews operated as a democracy. The captain acted as somewhat of a delegate. When you're interacting with another ship, where it's like, hey, who is your leader? It's like, okay, this is our captain. Talk to him. But when you're out at sea, the captain was not a dictator, and he wasn't even really a president. He wasn't running around telling people to do this and that, and then hiding in his cabin. He was still a sailor that did sailor things alongside his crew, otherwise he would be killed and thrown off the ship because everyone was probably operating on minimal food rations in order to make long journeys. Sickness happened, and nobody wanted to have dead weight, including the captain on the ship. So he did perform labors on the ship, and he needs to be able-bodied to do so. Right. It's respect of your crew. You were trusted. No, you wouldn't do it. You can't tie maritime knots either. Nautical knots. Hmm. Right, and I don't, and I certainly don't doubt that. And that's not. Maybe it got confused. That wasn't really the intention of my question. I was asking him if peg legs and hook hands, if that was actually a thing, or if that was just something that was made up over the course of history as people turned pirates from being these disease-ridden criminals that were essentially just they were essentially just sailors of a different profession. It kind of got changed over time the same way clowns did to be something completely different. Now pirates are, kind of romanticized, Peter Pan type pirates. Back then they were just sailors that had a different profession. And they did some criminal stuff to survive. I'd say more likely you would lose a hand or a leg, from various accidents, probably, like you said, having to do with having parts of your body pulled through rigging unwillingly, just vocational accidents. But I don't know if the missing limbs after they were amputated were actually replaced. That's what I was talking about. Certainly you could have people missing hands and feet and arms and legs, but were these amputees that were relegated to being stuck to a chair, doing something having to do with sitting around and walking with a cane for the rest of their life, or was prosthetic technology in existence at that time in history? Mm-hmm. With some leather strapping. But you'd make it yourself. You would most likely be making it yourself, or if you could afford to commission it, which I don't, you wouldn't be commissioning something unless you were wealthy. You'd be making it yourself with a knife and an axe and a shirt. Yeah, it was like a fence post. You ever seen how they make a baseball bat? Wood lathes have been around for a long time, and back then it wasn't really sawmills the way that we have today. There were sawmills, but they weren't creating perfect 4x4s. You were getting a piece of wood or some wood stock that most, or somewhat likely the carpenter already had, and you were paying him for materials and labor, unless you were bringing him stock for some reason. And they probably had a manually operated lathe or some type of planes, and they probably took some corners off and maybe cut it to length based on some arbitrary measurement that they were able to determine based on your remaining leg. Hopefully you got one, or however tall you wanted to be if you didn't have one. And then they would, perhaps find a way to attach it to you, you know, level off the top so that it'll make to your stump, which sounds god awful painful. And then if you're lucky, maybe put a cap on the end to a metal cap on the end to keep it from wearing down so quick. I understand that, but my understanding, and from what I've seen or read having to do with prosthetics, they were in their infancy to the point where they were almost non-existent till like the 1800s, mid-1800s, in which case, around the time polio started being a thing, sanitation became good enough that people were getting polio in a way that it was debilitating. Then prosthetics really started to become something, where you start getting the leg braces and all. Because polio, back when sanitation sucked, if you get polio, I think it's before you're 2 years old, it doesn't hurt you nearly as bad as if you get it afterwards, in which case it paralyzes you. And it was something a historian, I was listening to this podcast about different things, but one of the things they talked about was that back when sanitation sucked and people died of dysentery and all these different things, you would get polio all the time, but you would get polio so easily that you would get it while you were still underneath your infantile immune system, and it would be relatively harmless. You get sick, you get over it, nothing lasting. But if you get it after you're a certain age, and I want to say it's 2 years old, it causes you to have near fatal paralysis that's ascending. And that's why you see the people in the 12 years old in iron lungs. My understanding is that prosthetics really didn't exist before the onset of polio. Maybe not, but I just had that picture that I have in my head of that hand-drawn sketch of that boy. It looks like he's about 8 years old with 2 leg braces because, for whatever reason, that allowed him to walk, and it's strapped to him with leather belts. And they're like, this was, the first functional prosthetic. Now I'm thinking of sailors. You get your hand cut off by the rigging. That's ended your career, and you're going to be a pauper begging for money for the rest of your life because you'll never be able to work properly. Okay. I understand. Sounds like fun. Okay. And have a nice night. I apologize for that monologue. I get off on tangents. But you understand what I was saying, though. It was just, I started this barrel. There's a podcast that I listen to at work, because I work in a distribution center, but almost all the time I have the whole place to myself, because it's one of those satellite facilities that's run by a skeleton crew all the time. And I have the whole half the facility to myself. That's my domain. I deal with all the duties, so I'm sitting there in silence, hearing a diesel engine in the distance. It'll put you to sleep, and it's called "You're Not as Smart as You Think You Are." And they're up to almost 150 episodes. In every episode, this guy named David McCraney, which I think he is some type of psychological education. He brings an expert on. They talk about a topic having to do with, mental misconceptions, this and that. Sometimes it's history, and then they move on to a different topic in the next episode, and it's very educational. I heard a sigh. Did you have something to say? Okay. But yeah, just the information seems to stick to me better than most other ways. Maybe it's because I'm doing something while I'm listening, but I'm not, how do I put this? I'm not lacking in opportunity for education, and I don't consider myself a very good student, but I also don't consider myself to be as bad as most people. Because I just, I have the crystallized and the intelligence, certainly. Liquid intelligence is for the most part there, but I have somewhat of a learning disability where I absorb the information, but the encoding just isn't happening. But the retrieval is certainly there, very strong, maybe above average. So if I get it to stick, then I can not forget it even if I wanted to, but getting it to stick seems to be the problem, and most educational curriculums outrun my ability to encode the information. And so I just learn any way I think I can. And talking to you like we are now seems to work pretty well. You're not the only one I do it to, but I try to expose myself to people that know what they're talking about. Sort of like you do, people that are educated. I don't know. I deal with a lot of people that know nothing or know very little, know they know very little, but still would like to put on airs as if they do. And it's kind of aggravating. It's just about the field that I'm in. I work in the automotive field, so there's a lot of penis measuring. Everyone knows more than everyone else, and it's a lot of A-type personalities that butt heads, and I'm not an A-type personality, so I just let them butt their heads and go about my business. Did you notice that all the merchants randomly generate on every session? Yeah. Yes. I'm about 500 gold short of being able to buy anything from the clothing shop, so... Oh, that's the map. I tried going down through the muscle memory, going down the galleon, expecting there to be a staircase somewhere else. Yeah, I do like the sloop. I have a feeling it would create some wolf packing, which is my intention anyway, but it'd be nice if instead of doing a four-man on a galleon, if they allowed a consolidated party, to have two sloops of two people. Deep Blue Sea, Crooks Hollow, that should be local. How are we, divvying out the responsibilities on the small ship? If possible, I like to keep a lookout, especially on the small ship. Got maneuverability, but we don't have durability. I'm gonna cut the sail actually. 'Cause I am. Is it? Which direction? Okay, that's not at neutral. Is this the island coming up now? That's gonna be shallow here. Okay, island coming up. Okay.